Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to take Emma's 06 single cab over to TintMasters and drop it off to get the wrap done on it. We spent this weekend getting her roll pan and wing body worked and blended in. We fixed a few bad spots in the paint on her roof and on her hood. So we got that dropped off this morning. We're going to change the harmonic balancer and the alternator pulley on Panda. We've got a 25% underdrive pulley from Summit. We're going to swap out the stock balancer with it. And then of course it came with the smaller alternator pulley, so we're not burning up alternators. And we've also got a 160-degree thermostat, some fresh coolant to put in this thing, and then we've got an Eaton Truetrac to install. I don't know if we'll get to the Eaton today, but we're gonna try. It's gotten cold here in Arkansas. We're trying to stay warm and keep busy. So this week's episode is gonna be kind of short and simple. Nothing real crazy, nothing too in-depth, but we're excited to get Emma's truck back from wrap and share that with you guys. And we're eager to see what kind of difference the TruTrac and the summer dampener makes on Panda. We're going to go ahead and dive into this episode and pull this balancer off, get that thing swapped out. We'll start there. Let's dive into it. This is a part number SUM-C2520. We will link it in the description. It is for the long spacing, so for a truck accessory, and it is a 25% underdrive. Then we got us a good old parts store, 160-degree thermostat. It's a Murray, and the part number is 45660. And of course, we got 2 gallons of coolant to put in this thing too. All right, so I did already have an ARP bolt in this thing, so we'll be able to reuse that. If you're pulling out a stock bolt, you'll have to replace that bolt. Those bolts are torque to yield, but the ARP bolts are reusable. So we will be reusing that on this one. To pull the balancer, we use this little Amazon tool that we've got. We've been rocking this thing for about 2.5 years now. It's an Avery harmonic balancer puller set, and part number 71002. So you can pick these up on Amazon for about 50 bucks. Pretty simple deal here. You've got your puller tool, variety length of push rods, and the puller bolt. For the truck accessories, we use the longest push rod, which you can tell. We use the hell out of this thing. We're gonna get this thing put on there and get the old balancer off. Alright, so we got our balancer tool down there on the stock balancer. I've got my little stubby 3/8 impact on there. Now I'm about to just slowly pull that thing off, nice and easy. Alright, so there's a couple different ways to install a harmonic balancer on the crankshaft of an LS. They've got an installer tool that you can use wrenches and press the pulley on. For stock pulleys, a lot of the times we will heat them up with a torch. You don't want to get it scalding hot. It allows it to go right on, and you're not putting any stress on the threads in the crank. That is a personal preference thing. A lot of people don't agree with that. That's how I like to do them personally. But when you start getting into aftermarket balancers, most of them are not recommended to heat with a torch. A stock one is okay because it's cast, but a lot of billet or forged or CNC pulleys don't like to be heated with a torch. ATI, they make a tool and they recommend to, if you do heat them, to heat them on a hot plate. Summit, I have not looked at their instructions particularly, but I know from my experiences and experiences of other technicians that this pulley is too deep to be able to get the stud in the crank and have a nut on it and use a wrench. You won't be able to get it inside the pulley. So what we typically do is we will push it on as far as we can, which is not much at all, and then we take a stock crank bolt and by hand we'll pull it on and then get it to where that crank bolt is in there a good 6 to 8 threads, and then we will run it down the rest of the way with an impact. And then we take the old stock bolt out and we put the bolt that we're using in and go on from there. So that's what we're about to do now. We're about to go ahead and get the pulley mounted up, and then we're going to swap out the alternator pulley for this little thing right here. Hopefully that'll save me from burning up alternators. Alright, so we got the balancer on there, but I've got to go get a carbide bit to drill the forged crank to be able to pin it. Went ahead and got the alternator pulley off. I just held the pulley and pulled it off with an impact. It's a 24mm nut. So there you can see the size difference in the two. So we're going to go ahead and put this one on and put our 24mm nut back on and run that thing back down. Then we can measure and see what size belt we need. Alright, so now we're going to pull this rear cover and pull this worn out Yukon posi out of here and put the Eaton Truetrac in. We will have to go get some bearings and some ring gear bolts because those are torque to yield, and let's go ahead and put new bearings in it while we're here. But let's go ahead and pull this cover and see what this 6-month-old fluid looks like since we burned this div up. Hopefully my gears aren't hurt, because that looks pitiful.
Go on ahead and put a gasket on the list too.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so we've got our Eaton Truetrac. We got to put the bearings and the ring gear on it. We did have a really hard time getting the old carrier out because the pin started to shear in one of the spider gears, and the little 8mm that holds the pin in actually snapped. So I ended up having to cut it in half and bust the spider gears up to even get it apart. Luckily I didn't hurt the ring gear, so I am able to reuse it. We had to go back to the website, Summit's website, for the Eaton Truetrac and figure out what bearings we needed to make it work. I got the bearings in. We've got a new set of carrier bolt, or new set of ring gear bolts. About to get those installed now. Get that ring gear cleaned up, get those put on, push our bearings on, and we'll be ready to put this thing in and shim it, check it all out with a gauge and everything. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to check my lash with the old carrier in it because I couldn't get that pin out. I ended up cutting the center chunk, and I didn't want the axles to throw off my reading, which I probably should have just went ahead and measured it anyway. But if I remember right, we set this one at 8 thousandths. So as long as it's within spec, I'm gonna hope it does all right, and hope these things don't howl or whine a lot. From there, we did get the balancer put on, the alternator pulley changed, but I do not have a carbide bit at the moment to drill through the end of the crank. It is a forged crank in this truck, so I got one of those ordered. Waiting on it to come in, and then I'm going to pull the balancer bolt back out and pin the balancer. From there, we went from 186-degree thermostat to 160 and bled the cooling system. So we're hoping maybe that'll help with our idle temps a little bit when we're sitting in like Christmas parades and Christmas lights, car show traffic, anything in general. We're about to try to get this rear end back together, get this thing out of here, and ready to rip again. Part number for the bearings and races that we ended up using for the carrier are LM102949 for the bearing, and the race is a LM102911. So this is a 30 spline carrier, and I do have axles out of an OBS 30 spline axles. So this isn't a stock direct replacement for the rear end that's actually in the truck. This would be for like a 90 model OBS or Astro van, and the bearing cups or bearing races are a little bit smaller for the square body housing. So you've got to kind of do a mix match, but luckily Summit, down in the notes, if you're ordering one of these, Summit tells you which bearings you need based on the OD of the race that's in your application in the housing. So I knew I had the smaller races, so I was able to get those two part numbers for bearings and races, and that's what's going to make it work. Alright guys, so we got the TruTrac put in the truck. Sammy's filling the diff up now, and then we just got to put the tires on. Then we're going to ride this thing around the block, make sure that it's not howling or whining or making any funky noises. We got the lash set right at 6 thousandths. I mean, there's really not much else we can do for it at this point. So we're going to go drive this thing here in a minute, see what it does. We're still waiting to get this call back on Emma's truck. Hopefully they get finished with it pretty soon, next day or so. And we'll be ready to share all the excitement that we've been waiting on for that one. All right guys, so now it's Thursday afternoon, and they've finished up Emma's truck. Now, they couldn't wrap the front bumper, the lower part of the front bumper, because it's a textured plastic. So Emma's got a primed smooth bumper on order. It's supposed to be here tomorrow. We're going to try to get that on this weekend and get it back up there to have the front bumper redone. So we'll probably end up touching base on that in our next video, next week's video. But we're super excited to get up here and see this thing, and we want to share it with you guys as soon as possible. So we are going to go ahead and film when we pick it up and kind of go over everything, get some clips of it and whatnot. Just keep in mind, next week the front bumper will be wrapped. We just left the shop. We're headed up there now. It'll take us about 15 minutes to get there, and we're going to check it out, see how it looks, see how our body work is, and see what Travis has to say about it. So let's go check it out.
Ooh, look at that. That's pretty.
Let's check this thing out, y'all. Killed it. Y'all check this out.
You come back and let's do that front end black, man. Do all that chrome.
Yeah, we got a bumper cover, a smooth bumper cover. It'll be here tomorrow. We're gonna put it on this weekend.
Awesome, yeah.
And come back and have y'all do that.
Yeah,
I think
that'll look
the
really
chrome
good,
will really
yeah.
break it up a little bit.
Now I need some darker headlights.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole ass end of this thing, immaculate.
Thank you.
This thing, man, y'all do a little bit of work
Thank
this
you.
front end. This
Yeah.
truck looks so good.
Yeah, that was the first time I really done any body work myself, so which I had my buddy help
you
me.
did a good job, man. It
Well,
looked
thank
good.
you.
I mean,
Thank you.
compared,
Yeah.
If y'all have any issues, just let us know. You know we'll take care of
Yeah,
it, man.
appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir. Have
Thank
a good
you.
one.
Yep, you too.
Oh, it looks so good. I do like the black roof.
That's it. We got to come back and get this front bumper done. But we're going to come back and get that done this week. This next week. But y'all check that out. That thing looks good. TintMasters killed it as always, y'all. These boys don't play around when it comes to these wraps. We'll go here and get these guys paid, get this thing to the shop. We got to do a giveaway on Facebook for a free t-shirt for everybody that guessed what color she was having it done.
What's your name? Love it?
Come up here and put some fuel in this thing. That wing though, look. Damn. Not bad for a parts changer. All right guys, so it's now Friday. We picked up Emma's truck yesterday. We got Panda put back together. We took it out and did a little pull in it. Had a little bit of belt squeak, so we put a tighter belt on it today, a little bit of a smaller belt. And we're about to run this thing to Mexico real quick and pour us a little puddle of some skinnies and see if we can get this thing to hook up on a 35-degree day. I don't at all see it hooking up, but I would like to at least demonstrate what the Eaton's doing now and test the fact that both wheels are going to spin when I launch the truck. Because before we were having the issue of, even if the left wheel would spin in a burnout, only the right wheel would spin when I launched the truck. So we're going to go around the block here, take a quick little trip down to Mexico, do a test hit, see what we can come up with, and at least give you guys some LS engine noises and tire smoke to end the episode. Let's go check this out and see what we can come up with. All right guys, so y'all saw that. Once again, it just knocked the tires plumb off as soon as I left. I did try to stall it up a little bit. It didn't like that. I think we picked a pretty trashy road to try on, but you could also see in the video that the back tires were covered in gravel after the burnout, and we just shot around in the area somewhere. Obviously wasn't a good service. It's way too cold. I really need a good day where I can go out in some warm weather and play with the traction bars and try a few other things. But I am noticing that I don't really have any travel in the front end, so I think we're going to look into maybe a different shock setup for the front end and see if that helps us at all, getting the weight to transfer and the rear end to separate and actually plant the tires. I think right now it's trying, but there's not enough rebound in the front shocks for it to actually let the front end go and plant the back end. So instead, when I try to leave, the front end more just kind of hunkers down and then it knocks the tires plumb off. So we're going to keep playing with it. Trial and error, like we've said before, but we do have both rear tires spinning all the time now, which is a huge benefit for us and what we were battling before. We're making steps in the right direction. We just got to keep making those steps. But remember, follow us on social media on Facebook and TikTok at 727 Motorsports. You can email us if you have any questions at support@727motorsports.net. And make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment here on YouTube. Until next time, if you're not following us, grab that button.